Well, the sports editor is so grateful to have legendary South African hockey player and a club hockey player in the Netherlands join us today, and in Austin Smith, and it's absolute pleasure. Austin, thank you so much for your time. But I want to start off with a person who's had quite an influence, I'd say, in Murray Anderson. And was he a bit of inspiration to you to achieve what you did in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of what I've wanted to achieve has come from seeing what Murray had achieved. And I think that's probably any schoolboy's dream, is to have their teacher as an Olympian, especially if you're into sport. So having him come back to school after the 96 Atlanta Olympics, tell us stories about what he had been part of, things like just getting a whole bag of free kit was enough to excite everyone in the class. So I think it was from that moment that I really had this dream of wanting to be an Olympian, and also wanting to be a teacher, because I just saw how influential he was, and I thought, wow, what a blessing that would be if you could have the same effect on other people.
No, definitely. But from what I can gather, Austin, you were exposed to hockey at quite a young age. But what is it about the game that drove you to want to do more? I know you mentioned a few things now about seeing teacher at Olympic Games, but there must have been something that made you feel, I want to be part of this.
Well, I think, yeah, it may not even be hockey specific. I love playing team sports. I played a lot of other team sports. I played soccer pretty seriously up until I was about 15, and cricket in the summer. And I think naturally, if you have a good group of players around you, and you have a lot of people who are passionate about the same sport, then it just feels natural to carry on. And I had a great bunch of friends. I mean, I remember we got the key for the high school, Pinelands High School's indoor hall, and we may or may not have kept that key for a long time. And we used to go down on a Sunday, and we would just play indoor hockey with our mates because we loved it. And all my friends played hockey, so I was part of that too, and we just loved playing together. I think that really kind of entrenched the love for playing team sport, and certainly entrenched the love for playing hockey.
No, there we go. It's excellent. But looking at some of your stats and what you have achieved, the word came to me, and that was commitment. And why I said is that you have, for example, you've been with the club Den Bosch, if I've pronounced it correctly.
Yeah, well done.
Since 2009. You found your groove there. You just really felt part of the whole setup there as a whole, didn't you?
Definitely. I mean, it wasn't easy to get into the Dutch competition. I get heaps of emails or Facebook messages, kids in South Africa asking how can they play in the Netherlands. Can I also just get a contract? And without trying to be too negative, it's quite hard to get people to realize how difficult it is to get a contract in the Netherlands. I mean, at the stage that I got my contract, I already had 60, 70 odd caps for South Africa. I was captain of the South African team. And initially, when I emailed all the clubs in the Hoofdklasse, only 3 even replied. And all of them said there was no space for the coming season. And yeah, that was quite a shock to the system, because I thought there I was, I was doing quite well. I was 23. I was playing well in England at that stage. So it was quite a shock to the system. And it was only by chance that Den Bosch were actually looking for a defender. And they emailed me a few weeks later asking if I could still play, if I could play at the back and if I was still available. And of course, I jumped at that opportunity. And since I've come here, yeah, I've absolutely loved it. And I'm a big believer in, if you go somewhere and you're enjoying it and it's going well, then what's the point of changing? I find it hard to understand guys when they say, oh, I'm going to go and play at this other club just to check it out. Maybe it's better. Yeah, for me, that's nonsense. You've got to give your heart and soul into the organization that you're a part of. Of course, sometimes you move, or there are reasons to change clubs or change organizations, but the club's been good to me. I'm enjoying it here. So for me, it's just a no-brainer to keep on playing here.
Well, there we go. But if we could take maybe a step back, what was it about Dutch hockey or the league that made you feel, I've got to be part of this, I want to experience it? Because there are a number of good European leagues out there. What was it about the Dutch that drove you there?
I think growing up, I've seen a lot of Dutch players, the likes of Teun de Nooijer. Talking about Murray again, I remember him telling us stories of Jan Bovenlander. It was kind of way before my time. And he had kind of this aura around the Dutch players. And I think at the time when I was thinking of playing in another league, when I was about 23, The Dutch league was probably the best league at that time. I know the Belgian league has improved significantly over the past 10 years, and the German league is also a strong league. Spanish has some good teams as well. I think the Dutch league at that stage was the most competitive and the most challenging. And I had this dream of being the best at that stage, being the best midfielder in the world. That was my goal at one stage as an individual goal. I thought, well, if I'm going to become the best, then I need to play with and against the best every weekend. That's going to be much easier. It is far easier to achieve that goal if you are day in and out, so working with those kinds of people. So that was my main motivation.
Excellent. But also, I think you really got stuck in there and showed them what you're made of. Because if I'm not mistaken, you also captained the club as well. And that's a jolly good feat in my eyes. Number one, I'm sure you had to learn how to speak Dutch. And then just coming in from, with all due respect, South Africa is not maybe in the position they should be in at the moment, but the potential's there. So you've really gone in there and proven a point as well, haven't you?
Yeah, and I'm actually proud to say that I managed to change a few perceptions on South Africans in general. I think when I rocked up at the club without players being mean or rude, but I think a lot of them thought like, who the heck is this bloke who's just rocked up here, South Africa, no-name brand. We don't do well at major events.
Yeah.
So I think that, a lot of them were really surprised that I'd been given a contract. So it was difficult to first change the minds of players to realize, hey, I can actually offer something. South Africans can actually offer something. So that took a little bit of doing. And then being given the leadership role as captain was a great honor. And I've actually just stepped down as captain this year. So I was captain for 9 years, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And it's difficult as a foreigner sometimes if my Dutch is okay. It's not amazing. I make a lot of mistakes. The guys love to make jokes about it, but you need to have a thick skin with these types of things.
Yeah.
But I've definitely enjoyed having that leadership role. It's really helped me, I think, in just my getting in there with everyone in the club. It's a lot easier if you have a responsibility like that.
No, for sure. We're going to touch on representing South Africa a bit later, but there's no sign of retiring from club hockey anytime soon, is there?
Not at the moment. My contract's been going the last few years. It's going to be going year by year.
Okay.
So it kind of just depends how you're playing, how you're feeling, physically and emotionally. Are you still enjoying it? Is your body still up to what it needs to be? And then then also down to the coach's decision. So at the moment, year by year, but I'm still absolutely loving it. So no plans on stopping. Well, definitely not this season.
Excellent. But just touching on leadership again, and you were picked for South Africa at 18 years of age. It's quite phenomenal, and you went on to win Player of the Year awards and just did really, really well, scoring a number of goals as well. But you sort of absorbed every occasion, when it was quite a big one, and that just sort of growed within you and developed your game as well, didn't it?
Definitely. I think, if I think back to from where I started, I often tell that story about how disastrous my first cap was. I mean, I felt totally overwhelmed. I was starstruck. I was playing with guys that I'd looked up to like my whole junior career, rooming with guys who I'd looked up to. So I think it was just all a bit much. And if I look back, I'm still grateful that I had the opportunity, because I realized from a young age at 18, wow, okay, playing SA under 18 or SA under 21 doesn't come close to playing in the national team. So I realized from early on, I think that was very fortunate that I had a lot of work to do. I needed to improve myself in all areas of fitness, nutrition, mental strength, tactical, even the technical things I needed to do a lot quicker. So I think having that experience from a young age really helped. And then, going to big tournaments from a young age as well is also a huge advantage. You realize straight away when you're young and you don't have all the responsibility, that you can just go out there and play and express yourself before you're age 26, 27, when everyone else is looking at you to produce the goods. So I think that was a real blessing to get that experience early on. It
is. And also I find it fascinating. And why I say that is because even we go back to your schooling years. And at 16, you played provincial hockey, and at 18, you played provincial hockey. But again, you were the captain. So it just seems that it's something that's totally ingrained in you. And, does it come naturally to some people? Is it something that you decided to work on and say, you know what, it might not be a strength of mine, but I'm going to make sure this becomes a strength? In your mind, how does it all work?
Ooh, difficult question. I think a lot of it has to do with who you are as a person. I don't necessarily believe that you have to be an extrovert to be a captain. I think we have a lot of successful captains that I've worked with in the past who are a lot more introverts, and sometimes the fewer things you say, the more people listen and like, wow, he's really saying something now, I better pay attention. He doesn't open his mouth at every opportunity. He really says things when he means them or they're important. So I think, yeah, just for anyone listening, that's not a prerequisite to be a leader, but that is certainly something that I personally enjoy doing. I'm a bit of a control freak, so I think that helps me personally if I have more control over the situation. I think of myself as quite a caring person. I like to know that everyone's that's happy, but I also think discipline. So I think those kind of characteristics of wanting to be in control, caring about the people that you're working with, being a big believer in discipline, leading as an example. I think all those attributes helped me in my leadership positions.
No, it's awesome. It's brilliant, Joe. It's nice to see how someone just keeps getting better and better and better and better. It's brilliant. It's a lovely testament of your approach to the game. It's really, really awesome.
Yeah,
Austin, sorry. This next question might be a bit tricky, but the 2020 Olympic Games, how were you feeling when obviously the side was picked and your name wasn't on it, when you've got such an illustrious career? May I ask, how did you feel? What was going through your mind?
So when the team was announced, yeah, obviously it never gets old being selected for the South African team. I don't think anyone really takes these types of events for granted, especially when we had missed out on 2016, and that was something that I thought, wow, that was a real disappointment, and I don't want to end my career on that kind of note. So I was desperate to go to the Tokyo Olympics. So yeah, I was hugely excited, and then obviously we had the delay with Corona, and by the time I actually got to the Olympics, I think we were just more happy just to be going away and to be playing hockey and to be feeling slightly normal. The fact that it was Olympics was almost like an added bonus, but we were just so thrilled to be together again as a team, because we had done countless number of Zoom meetings, Zoom training sessions, Zoom nutritional talks, and everyone was a bit zoomed out. So
we were ready to tell you what, it's something else.
Yeah, we were ready to get together as a group, and yeah, I was incredibly excited.
No, good, man. And it's been so good to see how, from a South African perspective, and I know you touched on it earlier, the game has been growing. It's been so exciting because I believe there's so much potential in this country. You'll know more than me, but it's nice that there were some really good games, a few wins. But how does the side sort of, I don't know, get better when they're really giving a real good effort at the moment? How can they get better? What needs to be put in place?
Well, yeah, I definitely agree on the talent part. One of the main reasons I've actually carried on probably as long as I did was because I kept on believing that with the talent that's coming through the next generation, I mean, to give you an idea of the difference, I mean, these guys that are playing in our team now, the younger guys, have all grown up playing on Astro. They all have Astro skills, which is why most of them are a lot more skillful than I am, because, yeah, they're just grown up playing on Astro. I mean, the first time I saw an Astro was when I was 14 and 15, but 16 and 17 years old was when I really started training on Astro. So yeah, the talent is definitely there, without sounding hugely cliched. Until there's more funding available to hockey, there's only so much you can do. I mean, the results that we got in Tokyo were incredible when you think about the fact that we hadn't trained together for a year and a half. And guys are having to keep down regular jobs. So it wasn't even the fact that we weren't together, but guys simply cannot train as much as an international team because they are working full time. So that's a huge challenge. I hope with the recent results, if there are any listening to this, even though that I've retired, I would still love to see the team get a great sponsor and to make it into the top 10. That was one of my last comments that I gave the guys, that I would love to see them into the top 10 in the near future.
No, excellent. Lots to take from there, but I want to just ask you one more thing with regards to retiring. And I guess it's not a straightforward decision. What sort of goes through your mind, and what makes you feel, okay, this is time now? When some guys say, I might have 2 more years, guys are really pushing the age bracket of playing professional sport long past 35 now. That almost seems like that doesn't happen anymore. Guys are pushing 40, 41. Awesome. What may have helped the decision? And was it, well, I guess it is the right time to a certain degree, but what was going through your mind, and what made you feel, okay, now's the time to call it a day for South Africa?
Yeah, it is hard to know exactly when the right time is. I was always very cautious of overcooking it, and people or supporters or coaching staff looking back at the last tournament saying, "Ooh, that was probably one too many." And I think it would be sad to go out on that note. So I have that in the back of my mind. I was also cautious of just continuing for the sake of continuing and not giving it my absolute 100%. I'm a big believer, if you're going to sign up for something, then give it a full whack. Otherwise, rather don't bother. And I remember phoning Springs just before I made my announcement. I said, "Look, Springs, I just don't feel at the moment I can give 100%, and that's the reason why I'm calling it a day." And he completely understood that and respected that, so I can't even say for sure what the actual reason was, but I just felt inside I wasn't going to be able to do this next cycle to 100%. Okay. So then I knew immediately that that was that. So yeah, in the end, it was actually quite simple, but it did take a good time to think about.
Well, I think you've obviously left a legacy, and it's brilliant. And 183 caps, if I've got my stats right. A record that will probably stand for a very long time.
It's not the ultimate record. There are a number of, well, not a number. There are a few players. I know Greg Clark is one of them, who's got over 200 caps. So
okay.
I'm not going to be the highest cap player ever, but I certainly enjoyed being a part of the team for 17 wonderful years.
No, good. Well, I'm a big believer in standards and things like that, and I think you've given a lot of drive and a lot of energy and a lot of passion and even focus, I think, to the guys as well. Because you can always get that 1% better every time, and I think that's been very much a part of who you are. So it's great to see you, Austin. Really, really good.
Yes.
You're also going to be trying your hand at coaching professionally as well. What's the story there?
I'm not 100% sure yet. I did a coaching qualification here in the Netherlands a few years ago, which I enjoyed. It was nice to think more about, the coach's responsibility. As a player, you have a different view of the game and perhaps how it should be played. So I've enjoyed that. I've done a lot of coaching in my time here in the Netherlands, not as much in the last few years because I've been teaching. But it's definitely something that I'm considering. I'm weighing up the options of going into full-time teaching or keeping the combination of hockey, and if I retire from playing, then keeping the combination of teaching and coaching. So it's definitely something that's on the radar. I haven't quite made a final decision on that one yet.
Now teaching, and I thought you were a brave man before, but now this is something else. Also, gee whiz, that's incredible. Has teaching always been on your mind, or was it just something new that you experimenting with? I teach a bit as well, so I understand where you're coming from. How are you finding it? How's it going?
Yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying my time. I'm working at the international school in Eindhoven, which is brilliant. Working at an international school, we've got kids and staff from literally all over the world. It's fantastic. Okay. Hearing the different accents, learning about the different cultures. I think it's such a brilliant way for even as an adult just to be a part of that environment is it's super. And I'm learning a lot from other people, even from the kids sometimes. But definitely teaching was something. I think it also dates back to being in Murray's class, and
Yeah.
a few other teachers I had along the way, also at high school. And I just thought they had such a positive impact on my life. And I thought if I would have the ability to have such a positive impact on someone else's life, then then I think I'd consider myself as a success. If I could give someone the help that they need in class, and to go home with a smile and to tell mum and dad, oh wow, I learned this today, and Mr. Smith showed me this. I've been struggling with this, and now I know how. Yeah, what a brilliant feeling.
No, it's brilliant. It's amazing what influence teachers have. Try and get people on the right path, so to say. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll do a brilliant job, and I'm sure their hockey skills will improve anyway, regardless. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But generally speaking, enjoying life in the Netherlands, I guess it is a bit of a different culture. Lots of bikes around there, aren't there? People cycling a lot. Yeah.
I had to get, and I'm very impressed, even when winter comes along, if you're a Dutch person and your work or your school is 20 minutes away, if it's raining or snowing or literally freezing, and you need to get to school or to work, then you go on your bike. So I have a lot of respect. They don't even have the best all-weather gear, but off they go without any complaints. So it's very impressive. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed being here. I love being part of the hockey club, being a part of 2,500 members that has 7 fields, that have kids everywhere with sticks and bicycles. It's a brilliant environment to be at on a Saturday or Sunday. It's very special. I love it.
Yeah, talk about culture. That just sounds it's a perfect match. It really is good. But also, if we can turn our attention back to South Africa, and I know there's quite a few events coming up in terms of Africa Cup of, not Africa Cup of Nations, sorry, the African Cup, and quite a few qualifiers, things like that. If there's one sort of event that is important to Africa to keep the momentum going, what would it be? Or what does South Africa need to do to keep this momentum going from a player's point of view?
We definitely get players, in my opinion, as many players as possible playing overseas. We've got quite a big group actually playing overseas now.
Okay.
Purely because the seasons in South Africa, that's one of my biggest concerns, that the season in South Africa is so short. I mean, here in the Netherlands, we literally have about 4 weeks off in the year, and we go through the winter period and we play indoor hockey in the winter period. So the season is long. We have 5 training sessions a week compared to maybe 2 in South Africa. So it's just much easier to increase your ability if you're playing that much more regularly. With regards to the events coming up, Africa Cup has got to be an event that we keep on targeting to win. So that needs to be seen as a focus, and that means we can qualify for an Olympics and a World Cup. So that's, for me, that is a hugely important event, and a lot of our planning needs to be based around that. Talking about planning, that's something that also needs to be kept up to date to help guys. Like having the calendar 1.5, 2 years in advance, so players know what's expected of them. And these days we need to have a budget linked to that, so you can plan ahead, knowing that you need 50, 60, whatever thousand it is that you need for the year. You need to plan ahead, and you need to have that available if you want to be part of the team. It sounds tough. It is tough, but that's also realistic. So that needs to be planned, just like you plan in to take leave. You also need to plan to have those funds available.
Sure. Very good points here, Austin. Wow, a lot to take away again. But 2 more questions. Working under Gareth Irving, how did it go? And I think that man's got a real ambition and drive to do well as well for the country. But how was it being under as a player?
Well, yeah, definitely impressive what he's achieved. Probably not that many people know that he's actually not even employed by SAHA. He is a volunteer, just like the rest of our staff, our medical staff. And sometimes I forget how much work these guys actually get through so that we can perform out on the field. It's incredible. So yeah, that I think to start with is incredibly special. I've worked with Springs for many years. He was assistant coach for a long time, so our paths have crossed a number of times. But I really enjoy working with Springs. He's got a kind of a simple mindset when it comes to how we're going to play. He doesn't make things too complicated. He's open to suggestions. If we think maybe we need to do things differently on the field. He's open to discuss that. Doesn't mean we always get our way, unfortunately, which, well, probably for the best, but he's open to have the discussion. But he's also realistic when he sees us as people that we aren't going to be available for every single camp because we have work commitments, because guys have families.
Yeah.
And he's also understanding of that. So like myself being based overseas, he doesn't expect me to be at every single camp. He would love me to be there, but he also knows realistically what is more beneficial for the group in the long term and for Austin. It's for him to play in Europe. If he wants to play in Europe, he cannot make himself available for every single trip, for every single series. So I think he's got a great balance between being a tough coach, but also being an understanding coach, and he backs it up with great tactical knowledge. So yeah, to be able to do all of that and do it all for free just for the love of the game is quite literally absolutely beyond me, how he manages all of that.
So incredible. I think for me, that's a pure love for the game. You know, going that you might not get paid a cent, but let's just make the country proud. That's wow.
Not you might not, right? That you won't.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, it's something else. Sure. But I wanted to ask as well, in terms of the technology, do the Dutch grab onto new developments quickly and integrate it as soon as they can, whereas South Africa maybe are exposed to it a bit later, and that also maybe slows the process down of developing the game?
It does at times. I guess that also is linked very much to the finances. When you look at perhaps the Olympics, not as much, because there you are limited by the IOC with how many support staff you can actually bring with you. But yeah, when you go to World Cups, when you go to training camps, they have a manager who's full-time. They have a physio and a doctor who's linked to the team full-time. They have technical personnel who have, because they have more funding, they can get the latest products that are on the market. So there aren't that many revolutionary products that players are using right now, but simple things like heart rate monitors that players have to use at their training sessions allows the biokineticist to see, look at this, I've noticed Austin, for example, he's not training on a Monday and Tuesday, even when he says that he is. I can see that on his data. Or he's really struggling at the moment. His heart rate is spiking way too quickly. Something must be going on. Is he ill? Is there something else? Is his nutrition wrong? Let's get the nutritionist in. Let's give him products to help him with that. So I think from that point of view, yes, they're a step above, but there are also a lot of things that we can do that don't require all the fancy tech, but fancy tech often helps.
I'm sure it does, definitely. And Austin, sorry, man, as we draw to an end, you must have done a lot of traveling yourself. How did you manage going from the Netherlands to South Africa, then traveling within South Africa, and all of these different places, tournaments? How do you manage?
Being very well organized. I think players often forget, maybe junior players think, oh, I'm just going to play sport and it's going to be brilliant, but you also need to be exceptionally well organized. You need to have your finances. If you're going to be playing hockey, you need to have your finances in order as well, so you can afford to make these flights back and forth and to be on time and to give your work the correct notice, or if you're a student, to speak to the people in advance and not, oh, I'm going on a trip next week, can you send me the work in advance? Not many lecturers like being put on the spot at the last minute. So I think the organization has been a thing that's really helped me. It's something that I've had to get used to. Financial planning is something that I've had to improve as well. But the good news is that there's a lot of people around in hockey circles that are able to help you with these things. So I think players often forget there actually are people that can help you, that are willing to help you. So yeah, I've definitely leaned on people in my time to give me some tips, because we don't all know everything, so we need help.
There we go. Well, it's good. And Austin, as we draw to a close now, I'm really wishing South Africa well, wishing you well, because I know you're going to keep playing hockey because you absolutely love the game. Wishing your club well, and let's keep our eyes on South Africa and hope they do really, really brilliantly at the next tournament. So Austin, thank you for your time. Been very welcome to chat to you. Thank you so much, Austin.
Yeah, cheers. Until the next time.
Definitely. Okay, Austin, go on, my man. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. All the best.
Stay strong.
We'll be in touch. Cool.
Definitely.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.